Buddy, I'm Andy Fulton, the Chair of the Conservation Commission, and I open the November 3rd meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission at 7:08. We have on the commission to my left, Mike, Bill, and Steve, and to my right, Sherry and Mark. Our seventh member is not able to be present this evening, Ray. So we have, out of 7 members, 6 present, easily making a quorum. So we have some business before us tonight. Out front and center, we'll have a public hearing pursuant to RSA 36-A:5 for funding the purchase of the Barden property. At the end of that public hearing, there most likely will be an additional vote regarding that funding. So all commentary will be considered. After that, we have our other business, including reviewing our mail, looking at planning board item, as well as dealing with a special request on the Wood Family Forest and annual request to trap that we see. So with numerous guests in the audience who have most likely some role or concern for the public hearing, and I would just ask for my edification, is there anybody in the audience here for an item other than the public hearing regarding funding of the purchase of the Barden parcel? Seeing no hands, all in attendance from the audience are here for the public hearing. And please do make sure that you're signed in. Our town administrator is helping with the meeting this evening, and she keeps a list of attendees. Already taken care of. Terrific. All right, with that, we'll shortly move in to the first agenda item. That's the public hearing. And I will recuse myself from this item on the agenda. I share about 250 feet of property boundary with the 85-acre parcel. I have a roughly 4-acre parcel, and to set the scope of my location, my situation, I'll let you know that the shared property boundary is roughly 900 feet away from my house, down the hill, through the woods. And I'd also let you know that the parcel in question has well in excess of 8,000 feet of frontage. Nonetheless, shared property boundary makes me an abutter. And for the sake of appearance, I will recuse myself and will be in the audience handing off the management of this hearing to our Vice Chair, Steve Nager.
Thanks, Andy. For the record, Steve Najar, Vice Chair of the Ware Conservation Commission. Wanted to open up the hearing by first giving townspeople background on what the Conservation Commission does, and also how this property fits into, long-term open space planning here in Ware. So the commission, essentially, if you look at the RSA on Conservation Commissions, part of what we can do, and we have done in Ware, is manage public lands for conservation values and acquire public lands using, a variety of funds, in this case, town conservation, town forest. The Conservation Commission probably, 10 or, I'm not sure what the date is on those, but we contracted to do a natural resources inventory to help us plan these acquisitions. And if it's okay with everybody, I'm just going to bounce around the room a little bit here at these maps, and you're all welcome to get up and look at them. I realize they're kind of small. So some ecologists did the natural resources inventory. It's kind of a geographic information system exercise with some verification. Also, New Hampshire Fish and Game has something very similar. So we also have an open space plan. And, the goals are to really preserve or conserve large blocks of unfragmented land. And that's because many species benefit from, not having their habitat intersected with roads and developments and that sort of thing. So in this case, you'll notice the Chipmunk Hills unfragmented block is greater than 3,500 acres. So that's one of the bigger blocks in Ware. There's only 3 of them that are that big. And then also on this map, you can see within that block, these are lands that are already conserved. Both some of it's town land, some of it's Forest Society, Piscataqua Land Conservancy. So there's a lot going on around this parcel, and this parcel sits right in here. And you see that flowage along 114 kind of goes parallel to it. Also, for anyone who's not familiar with this, we have the Eastman Conservation Area on this side of the road that's about 600 or so acres. And then we also have the high schools over here, and there's some other private lands that still haven't been developed. So it's really quite a block of land in there. So then habitat values are looked at to come up with a co-occurrence value. And on this map, the darker colors are higher co-occurrence, meaning there's multiple habitat features that are important to wildlife. You can look at New Hampshire Fish and Game. They've got the same thing. The town has a version of it here. And so you can see on the side of, here's 114, here's Hemlock Drive, and here's the parcel in question. This thing scores right here in the brown. That's the absolute highest co-occurrence value, meaning that's the most important thing that we could target to conserve. And it's because of that wetland habitat and the mix of forest, and the large forest block is what all weighs into that score. So this isn't, something we just roll out of bed and say, hey, it's a great idea to go, to buy this parcel. There's a lot of rationale that goes behind it. And, this goes back to 2004. We used conservation, the granite conservation layer. Same kind of exercise, just to show that how long we've been really working on this thing. You can see up here, here's the north side of town. There's the Eastman Conservation Area. There's the high school. These Barden parcels right here. Some of the other parcels we just talked about. And we were mapping for this exercise the unprotected parcels that are bigger than 50 acres. It's essentially, most of the time, bigger is better. So this is an 85-acre parcel. Thanks. So just getting to the nuts and bolts of the parcel itself, I've walked it. My background is forestry. I'm professionally engaged in natural resources management. Talking with the owner, Nelson Barden, who's in his 80s, this parcel hasn't been cut for more than 50 years. My professional opinion walking around there's quite a bit of a mature forest that's highly valued. If we're looking at it just from a monetary perspective, the parcel has 2,000 feet of frontage on 114. So, it's a state highway. It's in rural agricultural zoning, so 5-acre zoning. The max build out on that thing is probably somewhere around 15 lots or so, plus or minus 1 or 2 because of the wetlands that are in there. So it has significant value all around. Currently, there's one cabin on it with a garage, I think another small outbuilding, and power. So the plan is to actually demolish The facilities are up there. There is this good woods road, good infrastructure, good driveway for us to get in there for people to visit it or future management activities. So all around, it's really a important parcel for conservation. There's been some controversy, and I just want to address that too before the public hearing. So the purchase and sales that tonight I think we should go ahead and unseal those records because they don't need to be sealed, so we can tackle that later. The purchase and sales had a contingency for valuation of 90% of the $300,000. Unfortunately, I think because of COVID and, essentially just how busy appraisals are, this isn't just like a homeowner appraisal. I called around. We couldn't get it done within the 30 days. There was just no way to do it. So we went back to the Board of Selectmen and asked them to waive that requirement. I think it's pretty much a no-brainer that this thing is worth $300,000 all day long. With all that frontage, most of it's high and dry except for that beaver pond. We looked at Avatar's card as a gauge. You got to think an assessment is not the same as an appraisal. It's not going to be dead on. We know that some other big parcels that actually have less acreage have sold for more than this rather recently. I think it was 40 for over 400. So confident that the valuation is fair that we're paying for this parcel. I think the timber value alone is probably, around 50 to 75,000, if not more, just because there's a lot of mature oak in there and mature timber. Not that we're going to go cut it all off, but just so you know, that's in there. There is an esker in there. If Andy wants to talk to that during the public part of this, he could. That's, that's got a high value as gravel. Not that that's the intention, but that really adds to the value. So we will go ahead and unseal that and make that part of it public. We have 60 days to close. I think that's pretty well understood. It seems like there's really an effort maybe to kind of derail that. So we, everyone's got their right to say things, but I think the probable motivation is a development motivation is in all likelihood. So with that, we're going to go ahead and open up the public hearing, and that's as pursuant to RSA 36A5. I would ask that anyone who comments could just introduce themselves, and so that makes it easier on the note taker. Just try to keep your comments concise if you could. Just to be clear, so the budget is $250,000 from the Town Conservation Fund, and that's where this requirement is actually from. The total purchase price is $3,050. That will be from the town forest account. We have allocated up to $20,000 in closing costs from the Town Conservation Fund. It's unlikely that we're going to spend that much on closing. We didn't just have a lot of expense so far. So with that, we'll go ahead and open it up. If anyone wants to step up to the mic, go ahead, please, and we'll recognize you.
Hello, Eldon Towns. I'd like to begin tonight by saying that I do not approve the funds of the Conservation Commission to be used for the purchase of 487 North Stark Highway, known as the Barden Land. Chairman Fulton, on October 27th, stated that in RSA, and what I found was it is RSA 36A2 for conservation funds and their purposes. And he also went on to say, to be perfectly clear, and I quote, "To be perfectly clear, Conservation Commission money cannot be used to purchase a gravel lot. We have a contingency on the land to have gravel available to the town, put by the selectmen and signed by chairman. And that happened with a vote that went 6-1-0, Fulton voting no. And I was there for that meeting, and Mr. Fulton took it very hard to sign that piece of paper because he knew what he was signing. And it's a direct violation of the RSA to use this money to buy a gravel bank. And that's what has happened when those stipulations of the purchase were put on that you guys signed on Monday. The contingency number 3 clearly stating the town has the right to any and all resources on the land except timber. And Mr. Najar, you just said that there's a lot of gravel on the land. The only resource I could see being used other than timber is gravel. And that directly violates the RSA to utilize and protect the features of the land and resources. Mr. Phillips asked, what are the resources, and Najar confirmed the gravel on the 27th. Knowing this, we already know that this land with a contingency in place cannot be bought with conservation funds, or if the sale goes through and we as a town bought the land with the conservation money, who's to say the state is going to give us the alteration of terrain permit to mine the gravel because the land was bought and put in conservation? In either scenario, we end up with no gravel to be available to the town. An alteration in the state of New Hampshire, an alteration of terrain permit is required for any project that proposes to disturb more than 100,000 square feet of contiguous terrain. For example, just so you think that's a big number in a big area, it's not. It's roughly 318 feet by 318 feet. That's just barely an acre and a half. So you'll have to file an alteration of terrain permit if you disturb more than that square footage. I would like an explanation tonight on how the Conservation Board proposes to obtain the alteration of terrain permit with this signed contingency that obviously violates the state RSA. The Conservation Commission here has some very clear and hard obstacles on how to regain the trust within this town, with obvious events that have happened on Monday and in the past. You also have what I see in black and white and what Fulton stated on the 27th, a legal violation of conservation fund use in front of you. And I would also like to say that the assessed value is the only value that the town has to go by off of this $300,000 price tag. And I have not seen any comparable property values that you guys supposedly have presented to the selectmen. I have not seen those. You haven't presented them. To know what you're basing your 300 grand off. And the other part is you've got a building value built into that $270,000 assessment of 44 grand. And you want to demolish that building in 90 days. So you will wipe out $40,000 off that assessment, bringing it down to a total land value of $230,000. So right now, we're $70,000 above the assessed value. That's all we have to go by. You haven't presented the taxpayers with any other numbers or comparable land values to justify the 300 grand. Furthermore, your closing costs and demo costs are going to add to this. We will be upside down on this property and this purchase, even if this gravel thing didn't exist. The blank here. Excuse me for a second. I lost my train of thought. So you basically just stated too, that there's about, on a good day, $70,000 worth of timber on the land. I personally think it's foolish to spend that kind of money to get 70 grand worth of timber. You said that it's been 50 years, it hasn't been logged in the last 50 years, give or take. So we're gonna go spend this money, get 70 grand worth of timber. Oh, looks great, but we're still upside down on it. And we won't be able to harvest any more timber on that land for another probably 70 years before anything becomes of value to even do it. And who knows what the wood market's gonna be then. Right now, the wood market is not favorable. You know this. Your forestry fund hasn't made a return this year on forestry. You stated that in your last minutes this year. So I don't know why we're dumping money into more land. We have a ton of land in town that is conserved. It can't be built on. We lost most of this town when the feds came in and took Clough. And we're supposed to be putting in a trail system that you guys won't have any money for after this purchase because you have essentially drained the accounts to buy this land. I would rather see you guys take this money, prove you could put a trail system and a plan together that is sustainable. Everybody on this board on October 27th stated that there was a trail subcommittee, and it dissolved because of the lack of volunteers, lack of funding. So that contingency, to me, is a waste. It's not gonna happen. You guys have 2 years to come up with a plan, and that's it. That's all you have, and you've had this land for many, many years, and you've had the subcommittee to do it before. I would say put your money into building out the trail system and proving you guys can capitalize on what you are now obligated to do. I just have a very hard time with this allocation for the money, other than the other obvious conflicts that have arose from this whole deal. It's a very bad stain on the town, and you guys as a board have a lot of trust to regain within the taxpayer base. So I do not approve of this purchase and the use of the conservation funds.
Okay to ask you a question while you're up there?
As far as what, Nazar?
Steve, call me Steve.
Yep, Steve.
So, it's my understanding that you were up there actually looking around the property. I would just ask, what's your interest in this? Are you trying to buy it? Because that's sure what it seems like.
I'm a concerned taxpayer, and my money is my money.
It is.
I do whatever the fuck I want with it, okay?
Good for you.
All right? So if you have a problem with it, you can buck up and pay for it,
I'm
all
just-
right? It's
I'm not gonna take that.
It's not
Not gonna take
your
that.
place to,
Hey, you're not
me on
recognized
the
at this
spot,
point.
okay?
No, it is my place.
all right?
It is.
That
It's
is
a simple
not.
question.
So,
Yep.
all right? There's many other taxpayers in town that did not like what's going on. And it's a free country, and you could do what you want with your money. That's it. That's all there is to it. Don't put me on the spot because Mr. Fulton screwed up. Okay? That is not right. He put you guys in this spot, and if you guys knew about it, why didn't you just,
Hey, you know what? We're not in a spot, Eldon, and you've already been told that you're not being recognized, so why don't you just please sit down? Okay? You've run your mouth out of line. Sit down, calm down. You can maybe talk later when you got some sense in your head.
okay, well,
Okay.
that is
Thank you.
just not right.
I do want to address one point that Alden made. So we had a long discussion and ultimately signed a correspondence back to Selectman Meany. For the record, I want to make it very clear. What that said on point number 3 that was just discussed is that it is the town's resource. And I want everyone to understand this. At any time, any town property that's not under conservation easement by vote of the town, that's everybody, we don't own it, the town owns it, can do whatever they want with it. If they need a school, if they need a gravel pit, if they need a parking lot, if they need a Dairy Queen, it doesn't matter. You can throw that in front of the voters, and everybody gets to have their say. That's all we signed. We didn't sign, you can go gravel it, because you can't. It has to come back to a vote of the townspeople. There was precedence for it. So, I mean, kind of what happened was the synopsis there was not accurate. And since I've been in, I think that the vote may have happened before I was on the Conservation Commission, but that did actually happen at Felch Town Forest. There was an esker in there that the town came to the Conservation Commission, and said there's valuable gravel. I think it was in a spot where it was right up against the actual landfill, so I mean, ecologically, it wasn't a huge deal. And that went in front of the voters, they approved it, and the town mined it. So, I mean, there are situations where these things can happen. And that's all that letter was more or less a statement of fact. It was nothing that said you can go do this. So this money is not to buy gravel to extract. There's an esker in there that has value as gravel, but the idea is to conserve it. Townspeople in the future can make that decision. I would also really take issue with the idea of harvesting and not having a stand entrance for another 70 years. We don't do that kind of harvest. We do the occasional clear cut for habitat, but most of the harvesting is thinning under an even age management regime. Stand entrances can be every 20 years. The whole purpose is not buying this just for timber either. It's just a value that happens to be there and that we typically manage. So just to clarify that, your stand entrances would be, essentially perpetual. And we are a pretty large forest landowner as a town, so there's, in forestry, you never expect to harvest every single year unless you've got a gigantic holding. That's just not going to happen. So we'll recognize, did anyone else have anything on that?
Yeah, just reiterating that the point number 3 was viewed by the Conservation Commission as a statement of fact. We were not signing, this is being purchased for the purpose of harvesting gravel. We are not allowed to do that, and that's not what we did. We viewed number 3 as a statement of fact. That's all I would have to say.
I agree.
Hey,
Danny Jean Stewart. I support the purchase of the Barden property, and I refer people to the Ware Master Plan. That's the reason why. Directly applies to the purchase of this property. There's not one item that supports this purchase in the town master plan, but 2. And this is the vision statement that was put together by the residents of Ware. I'll start with the first statement and then go on to the other 2 that also apply. So Ware residents desire a well-governed and organized town with positive leadership, active volunteerism, and a strong commitment to public services. Well, apparently there's not a lot of active volunteerism if we can't get a subcommittee to put trails into our own conservation property. That's not on you guys. That's on the folks in town. Second item, in the Ware master plan for the vision statement, a rural but vibrant community with open space, natural beauty, country atmosphere, and a small town character. The other is a town that values its environment, open space, clean water and natural beauty, and seeks to protect these resources through managed growth and land use planning. It's right there in the town master plan. This is what Ware residents thought was most important, and this is what's going to happen with the purchase of the Barden property. As for getting trails into conservation property, I don't know how Goffstown does it, but when I was in Londonderry, we had a very active 501c nonprofit. We acquired more than $1 million in grants to help make trails in our town conservation property, and also a pathway system connecting some of the schools. That's the way to get it done. That's the way to get it done. Get yourself together, apply for the grants, and get it done. It's not on the Conservation Commission to do it. It's on us because we want it, then we should make it. Highly support the purchase of the property. It's here in the master plan. Anybody can find it and read it. Conclude my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up.
Actually, the previous speaker mentioned a couple of things that I was going to, and that is the master plan, page 16 of the master plan, which does include those two statements and others that really point to the need to conserve the town in a manner that would maintain the country atmosphere of it. But I'd also like to speak to the economics of it, of preserving the land. I spoke to the board about this early in this process, but then I went online to find out exactly what do we pay for student costs per pupil. And if you go to the Department of Education website, you find that for the town of Ware, to educate one child, elementary, $12,799 a year. $12,799 a year. Middle school, $16,736 a year. John Stark Regional, $19,192. Now you average those all together to make it a little easier to work with. And so you've got an average cost of all levels of $16,242 per year per child. Now the Conservation Commission has tossed out the figure of up to 15 house lots from this, with possibly more, but a lot of it easily developed because you can get probably 10 house lots right along Route 114. So, you know, what does that amount to over time? It's not going to happen tomorrow, but if you take those 15 and multiply it out by that amount per child, just one child per household, and you're coming up with a cost of $243,630 per year added to our budget for educational costs. One child per household, 15 households. Now, you know, these are rough figures, I realize that. But I'm saying that in 1 year, we could spend as much on educational costs, almost as much as what you're paying for the land altogether if it's not preserved. So this is just an incredible economic advantage to the town to conserve this property. Now, I got spoiled here. I moved to town almost 50 years ago, and when we had 1,800 people, and, you know, it was a different world, and it's never going to go back to that. But we got to preserve all of it that we can, so that we do have something that still looks like a rural community. And this is one step toward doing that. It's also one step towards saving taxes on your taxes. You know, because no matter how much comes in for revenue on new properties, a lot more goes out. And I'm just talking educational costs here. I'm not talking about additional costs to the other departments in town that are all reflected on the population. So I encourage you to approve the funding of this project from the Conservation Fund as well as from the Forestry Fund, because it's essential and it's economically sound.
Thank you.
Lori Davis, 118 Buxton School Road. I have never seen a board work harder to try and manage money in forestry and do what's best for this town. I have sat on this committee, so I know the amount of work they do. Facts are being tossed around tonight, and some are actual facts, some are not. Full disclosure, Mr. Towns is a developer. Fact, I called the state to get an appraisal. It is a 60 to 180-day waiting period. That's how long it takes because of our friend COVID. That's a fact. More importantly, generally people move to this town for the rural setting we have, the beauty, the animals, the country life we have. Goffstown used to have that. They did not plan well. Yes, they have a lovely trail system, but Goffstown has become a building boom. And all the people that lived there before that happened are having to move out because they cannot afford the taxes that come when you have developers blow the place up. The animals have no place to go. It is their planet too, and it is our job as the Conservation Committee and as the people in Ware, as we have voted in our town planning, we are here to preserve and encourage the growth of our wildlife and to protect the rural style of our town. I say great job on the Conservation Committee. I am very pleased the Board of Selectmen chose to figure out it was a wise decision to waive the assessing problem because it is a problem. Go for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Hey,
Todd Nickel, Burnt Hill Road. I'm not here to develop land. I'm not here to turn anything down. I'm here because I'm concerned really is how this process has gone through. Again, taxpayer, that's why I'm here. We, as a town, vote on whether we're gonna spend $10,000 to fix up the gazebo, if we're going to do a roof on a building. We do all of that. So my concern really is, I've gone through the minutes, and please excuse me because this has all come up to me today, and I didn't plan on being here because I was gotta go to bed pretty soon. But I've gone through the past minutes and YouTube hearings, try and watch and see and gather what I can out of what's going on. There was a motion to buy this land less than a couple months ago. Don't need to go into who motioned it. We already got that all figured out, right? But we're all taxpayers in town. We're all residents, are we not?
Yep.
When we bought our land in town, did we go to a bank to buy our land? I'm pretty sure. Is there anybody that bought it with cash? Because good for you. But we had to go to a bank, and there's contingencies on getting a loan from a bank in which the land has to be proven. There has to be a survey, there has to be a title, make sure you're not buying it from somebody else and whatnot. And then it has to be appraised. There's no bank today, yesterday, COVID, pre-COVID, that's gonna give you money to buy a piece of land or a piece of property, especially if it's overpriced, right? That's the protection that's kind of built into the bank system. And I think that as a taxpayer, that should be something, because I'm the bank. I'm a committee of the bank that's buying this land, more or less. And I'm not against buying conservation land. I love town. I've been here, born and raised, 36 years now. But I'm not against just throwing money out there. And which raises more questions. Again, I've been thinking about this. I've been trying to take down notes to try and put this into better words. But where's the vote on the town people to buy this land? We voted on raising money to put into purchasing conservation land. That one, we voted on that. I can clearly remember that, but, to just spend $300,000 on a piece of land without a vote seems odd to me. Maybe I misunderstand this, But that's why I'm here asking questions, because again, we vote to fix the gazebo, we vote to pull money out of allocated raised funds to purchase or repair things, but this piece of land just seems, what are we, it was, I wrote down the dates. September, October, November, we're only 3 months in, you can't even get a mortgage in that amount of time. And we already have,
Yeah, I get a mortgage in 10 days.
well, what kind? What are you paying, you know? That's,
Excuse, we gotta just keep it with the speaker. Todd, you mentioned a couple different things. I mean, I don't know if you want to take a pause and just,
yeah, no,
can
I
try
would
to
like,
answer a couple of
I
those for
really
you.
would like answers.
Yeah.
That's the, again, I'm standing here, again, not to purchase the land, not to oppose the purchase, not, I have questions, and it just,
Yeah, let me give you,
from
take a
following
stab
up.
at just one of the ones that you asked, and then I'll also open it up to commissioners. But, so the Article 23 from the 2021 town meeting was to, so when you think about, we talked about forestry, forest harvest revenues off town forest get deposited into a town forestry account. So it's not actually money that's raised. So this is, but the voters authorized the use of $140,000 to buy additional town forest land. So then the Board of Selectmen are the agent to expend on that. So 50 of this is coming from that authorization. So that was 2021 warrant article.
Okay, I did hear you say that before, but I didn't have a chance to write it down. So there is something that is,
Oh, yeah.
that's already been allocated to say,
Yeah, it's not tax from taxation though. It's from the town forest account, and the Board of Selectmen are the agents to expend that money. We already bought some other town forest land using that allocation as well. So that's.
so we already spent how much out of the 140?
You know, I don't have it right now. We can just really address the, let's try to.
We're talking 300 and we raised 140.
No, well, so we're taking 50 out of this for the, let's try to just keep it to what we have the hearing on. That stuff's all publicly available, what got spent, or can try to get with you later on, just for the sake of time. So 50,000 from that 140. Okay, the rest of it, the other 250 is from the town conservation account. So conservation in Ware comes from, and it was a, you know, a town vote, it's from the current use change assessment. So when people have, you familiar with the current use program?
Yes.
Okay, good. So when people have acreage under current use, they get a much reduced tax rate. And the carrot there is not to develop the land, you know, to manage it for natural resources, open space, whatever. But when someone does take it out, there's a penalty. So in the town of Ware, I believe it's 75% of that money goes into the conservation account. And then by RSA, the Conservation Commission is the agent to expend. So that's what we're doing here tonight. So we have the public hearing to comply with those requirements. It's pretty standard. We've done it a lot over the years, but it's good that everybody understands that. So that's what we're doing tonight. So none of that's raised by taxation. It's from the current use change.
Well, so then why are we voting to raise money to put into to purchase forest land?
We're not raising anything.
We just voted on it, right?
No.
We voted to appropriate, I think it was $150,000 towards the purchase
One
of
person.
conservation land.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you one more time, Todd, because just for the sake of time, we can't do it, keep going through it. We didn't raise anything from taxation, so that's a
So
clear,
then what,
let me explain just one more time.
and what, no, I get that we raise money off of the timber off the land and then the current use taxes.
So
So then what was the vote on the
the
raising
140
the 150 or 140
140.
for,
to expend from the town forest account.
It was permission
It
to.
was just given
That's all it is.
us permission to
Permission to
use
spend
the
the
money that was already
That's
there.
all it is.
It isn't, nobody got
Okay,
taxed,
so-
it was money that's already here. but
So-
The town people voted
to spend 140?
to spend that money purchasing land.
So the 160 left has been raised by selling timber and current use tax?
This is kind of getting confusing. Let's just try to keep it. So 140 was authorized.
Got it.
Article
So we're
23,
missing
town forest
160.
account. No,
Off of 300, we're missing 160.
no, 250 is from conservation.
Can I try, Steve?
Yeah.
That 140 was just, that's money that's already in an account from forestry, and we were just off.
Voted to use it.
140 just means we can use it. We used 50,000 of the 140.
Out of this.
We're using 250 out of the conservation fund. There's no, you're not paying
And the
another.
conservation fund is off of the
Conservation
sale
fund.
of the timber
Nope,
and,
nope, conservation comes, Todd, when someone sells a big tract of land for a development, and it's in current use.
okay, so what he was explaining
Yes,
about the
and
current
so-
use tax.
So a portion of that portion of the current use tax goes into the conservation fund. It's money sitting there. And we ask permission to expend
Use it.
that money that's already there. There's no money, none of the money for this piece of property is being raised by new tax.
Okay.
It's there already. We are just, our only purpose here tonight is to say that we want to take the money that's already there, that the town's already voted to have us use, and we're managing that one last time tonight and saying we're going to take that money that's there with no tax burden at all to anybody in the town aware, and we're going to buy a piece of property
To conserve.
to conserve.
But only 50,000
Nope.
is
No.
what you're pulling out of that 140
Well,
that the
that.
town said yes,
But
you
it's
could
two
use.
totally different accounts. The 140, and then where the 250 is the commission has the, I guess I'll say the
Authority to
authority
expend, yes.
to expend that money. Its intention is for conservation. And we're buying conservation land. There's no new tax involved. There's nothing coming out of your pocket to buy this. Nothing came out of your pocket to buy this. It is money that is, the town of Ware already has. It was raised, the conservation funds are raised by the major portion of it by the
It's the change penalty.
the change of tax use. And then the forestry fund is money that comes in from the sale of timber and use of the lands. So everything that's being spent has already been, it is basically in the conservation system right now. There's no money coming, nobody's asking for any money. We have it, we just have to have permission to use it. And the board has the authority to spend the conservation funds, and the townspeople voted to use up to $140,000 of the forestry funds, which were already in place. There's no taxes on it, it was already there, but the townspeople have the authority, give us the authority to
To
use it.
spend the 140.
The 140. We're using 50.
Up to 140.
Yes, and we used 50 of the 140. And we used 250 out of a conservation fund, which is not created by you paying tax.
I mean, I know this isn't a finance committee thing and whatnot, but I mean, that's still,
The other thing,
the
Todd,
townspeople said that you could spend up to 140
out of that one account.
out of that one account. But, so then, can we clarify this moving forward on ballots? Because
It was a
I didn't
pretty
know
heavy-
that I didn't know that we had a business going where we had $250,000 in account that we could have just used to buy land instead of authorizing another 140.
You did not, that was already there as well.
It's already there.
You're missing that.
You're missing it.
Two separate accounts.
I know, but but it got there from selling stuff, right?
All right, so, yeah, one more time, we
One.
probably gotta move on. One is from forest management revenue, timber harvest.
From the conserved
That-
From
lands, Todd.
conservation.
That one has to be voted to expend from every year by law, and the selectmen are the agents who expend. The town conservation account was authorized many years ago. It's under one of the RSAs, and it's from the current use change penalty,
Which is where the money was generated from.
the penalty, yeah.
Correct.
And
Yeah,
deposit
that's where
into
that
that,
all
yeah.
generated
Yeah.
from.
So you got two sources there, right. So we are the agents to expend the conservation fund. We're voting to authorize or not authorize tonight we've already gone through this once, but this is the public hearing, so we're gonna have a final vote tonight to authorize the use of those funds. That's the point of it. And, I did want to address the part about the,
Then I guess my biggest concern too is that there's obviously, again, going through the minutes and whatnot, we'll get off of the money amount and where it came from and how it got there. But it was mentioned about the surveys and obviously the assessment. And there was also mention about the survey being up to date. If there's a dispute over the survey, then what's gonna happen there? We don't have,
so,
I'm afraid, again, I'm asking as, we're buying this land.
yep.
So how much of this land do we lose? How much of this dispute is really a dispute? Is it over an acre? Is it a
Oh.
50
It's the wrong
foot
property.
Todd,
property line? Is it?
let me, you got the properties confused. There's a dispute over on the Poor Farm Forest, has nothing to do with this. So there's no dispute on this property. What happened,
Again, I'm going by minutes and the YouTube videos, so.
yeah, that was two different things.
different
Poor
properties.
Farm Forest is the one that has the dispute. So we won't go into that because we're in the hearing for, Barden. But what happened, and I think I see where your overlap is coming from, is the title company found, so we do a title search to make sure there's a good title. And
Right, yeah. I mean,
and so
again,
it was a marketable title, which means it's a sound title. They have the right to sell it, convey it in a warranty deed. The company, because at the time we didn't have hands-on an actual survey, they were concerned, a lot of these parcels that haven't been messed with in a very long time have old deeds, and they're harder to follow. But anyhow, there turned out that there was a survey done on this parcel that we found that satisfied the Board of Selectmen. In addition to that, there are modern surveys on about 90% of the line going around this thing. So there's really, no concerns with any boundary problems on this parcel. Good solid lines, mostly rock wall.
Okay. But I will leave in saying too, though, that my parents have been sold a piece of land in Gorham with a solid title in a funny survey. It turns out that piece of land had been sold to 3 different individuals. And my parents lost every single dollar that they spent on that piece of land. I believe you've heard about that story because Dad should have been working there at that time. So it's a concern that should be a concern.
We believe we have it covered legally. We've done our due diligence. Appreciate the concern and really.
Well, again,
It's bad to hear about, what happened to your parents. Sorry to hear that.
but it happens.
Yeah.
And that's why that's why banks don't loan money for weird things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having that concern as well because, eventually we are going to end up paying for it. Whether it ends up turning into a development or we got to do something else or whatever. There's got to be something. And I'm concerned about what we're doing, and it just seems like it's gone very fast, and that there hasn't been a lot of chance for townspeople to be able to speak up and ask questions and get solid answers. But I do agree. I thank you for answering some questions because in the past meetings I have not really seen a whole lot of answers to say in what I got to see. So.
Yeah, come on in anytime. Thank you, not just for hearings.
I guess-
Interest in conservation.
No, I wanted answers. It doesn't make.
You're always welcome. Open meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up.
Can I just address something?
Sure.
Sorry, someone was gonna come up. I'd just like to apologize for the language that came out of my mouth about 10 minutes ago. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
And I would also like to state that I'm not a developer. I've never developed anything in my life. I've built my house. I'm an excavation contractor. I do septic service. I'm not a developer. So, I would like to just state that as well. But, anyhow, again, do you guys have the surveys here tonight to present at all as well?
I don't
You
think
guys
so.
brought all these nice maps. Do you have anything of the survey that depicts what the Conservation Commission wants to buy?
Thank you.
You kicked me.
Yeah, so it was traversed by a licensed New Hampshire surveyor. We have not pulled down the other surveys that our adjoining landowners have, but there's many of them. They actually have a whole detailed list. They confirmed, they've got 85 acres on there.
This here is the one, correct?
Yep.
Woodland survey. Showing page and compass survey, 72, 73.
So it's kind of a
So
tough,
72 and 73 is what they're depicting, this was done?
it's whatever dated, yeah, it's signed and dated. Yeah.
Okay. So the title company was something.
You have to go
was-
back up to the podium, please.
Yeah. So, I understand that the survey was requested and recommended by the title company, not the selectmen, correct?
Yeah, and the title company is only contracted to actually come to a finding if it's a marketable title or not. They put a note in the report, which is public record, recommending a survey because they were not aware the survey was available at the time. And they also, a title company is not a surveyor either, so there's also.
No, they're not, but they insure the property line.
No, it's just a title report. We're not necessarily
But-
buying insurance from them.
But in a dispute, you have title insurance for a lot line.
We haven't discussed if we're
Title.
purchasing title insurance. Let me recognize the town administrator for 1 minute. Are we self-insuring, or I don't think we always buy title insurance. I think we have bought it on some of them, but not all of them.
I just want to know, was that presented to the title company?
They wouldn't be the arbiter of that, but let's just answer that one question first there.
I have a commitment for First American Title Insurance Company.
On this parcel?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So you are going to have title insurance?
It was a suggestion, not a requirement for you to purchase it.
Right, a recommendation to have
Right.
a survey presented to depict the lot lines.
So we will, so is that something we need to vote on tonight as well, whether or not we want to buy title insurance and what the cost is on that? So they're not requiring the survey for the title insurance, they just recommended it, so that's it. I mean, we found a historic survey.
Were they, what's the word? Were they satisfied with how old that survey is?
It's not their
Were they-
place. We didn't go back to them for anything, we don't
the
need to go back
accuracy
to
of
them.
that?
We don't need to go back to them.
Okay.
No, it was just a recommendation. The title company is just paid.
Just every land deal I've ever seen go down or heard of through family and things like that, you always have a survey done and to pick the lot lines, you have your pin set, and you have an appraisal done, and both of those have been waived, and you guys have been saying you've been working on this for many years,
No, on,
you know, on
Open
this
space.
purchase.
not on this purchase, on open space.
No, you said you guys have been working on purchasing this land for
All-
8 to 10 years on this project?
No, open space. That's a mischaracterization. The open
Okay,
space
so I
plans-
misunderstood what you
Yeah.
guys said about
Yeah.
8 to 10 years of this project?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
the open space plan, the NRI was about 10 years ago. It's a big plan for the whole town. There's an open space plan.
Okay.
So what we do is, just so you understand, I mean, you know, I can't say, all right, if you're sitting on 2,000 acres, every open space in the world is going to say, we want to buy that. You may never want to sell it. I mean, the open space plans are big, with big goals, identifying big blocks of land. I mean, look at those blocks of land. Think about how many landowners are in those blocks of land. It just happened that when we did the analysis, those weren't developed for whatever reason. So, you know, I'll just give you another example. During COVID, did a lot of hiking around town locally. Came across an area that was like just isolated, you know, Toby Hill, isolated, huge tracts of privately owned parcels, hadn't been touched. Great opportunity for conservation. So we contacted a couple of the landowners because it just hadn't been on the radar. Turns out one of them wanted to sell. You know, we got a really fair deal. Same kind of thing. We didn't go through an appraisal because it was, you know, a very reasonable price. It was
So
understood. that
we're
it was
buying
worth it.
property without appraisals, is what you're telling me?
Yes. Yeah, we have. We looked at the tax, you know, the tax cards. We looked at we have a professional forester involved with that particular one. So we know where the
Why do you think it's
valuation
any different with taxpayer money that you don't get appraisals? I mean, any bank we
yeah.
have to go through, you need appraisals.
Not if you're a cash buyer, you don't.
No, you don't, because it's your own money, but you're playing with taxpayer money.
This isn't taxpayer money.
Ma'am,
It is.
you have to buy land, and if you take it out of current use, you pay the penalty, you pay the tax. Whether it comes into the conservation as penalty, you still pay the tax. It's still money out of the taxpayer's pocket. How it gets in there is a different way it's written. That's it. I've paid a tax penalty on my house when I built it. You guys got 8 grand out of me, and I understand why it's there. Because when it's in current use, it's $13 a year and it's public land. You can't post it, no trespassing. So I understand the whole current use thing. You can't tell me it's not raised through taxation, because it is. It's just a different way it's done. So, and then when you take this property off of the tax base, you're raising taxes on taxpayers that are in town. We all share, easy number, $1 million bill to run the town. You have 100 people in town, you buy out 10 of them, 90 of those other people got to pick up the $1 million bill. You're doing that with this and every other property you buy. I don't understand the $200,000 cost to put a kid through school.
Nobody
That
does.
cannot be accurate. I don't know where that came from. That frustrates me. My wife's a teacher.
It's right there.
And
14,000.
I understand the schools are way underfunded, that whole thing, but that blows my mind that actually, I feel like it's inflated, but, to me, it's not a wise use of our money anymore. And we have a lot of forests in town. I do like what you guys have done with your conservation land. It's nice to use. But I say that it's beginning too much. You know, you're not gonna have tax impact on roads with cars. You're on a state highway. The town's not gonna pick up that. There's a lot of false information going around about how the land can get developed, if it's ever developed. You know, you guys have thrown 15, 20 house lots in there. Well, when you survey and you come up with a selected, septic plan and a subdivision approval, there's equations for lot loading. And the minimum lot size is just that. It's a minimum lot requirement. The lots through lot loading equation actually turn out to be bigger than that. So, and there's only 3 curb cuts that I've understood on state highways. For every 1,500 feet, there's only 3 curb cuts allowed. That's the equation. So you can't go put 15 house lots on that piece of property. You're not gonna be overloading a town with people on this land. It's rural ag zone. The lot sizes are too big to do what people have been suggesting and how you guys have been selling this to the selectmen. That's the other thing that I don't trust is the scare tactics that have been put in place, and it upsets me as a taxpayer to see that. I may not be a developer, but I have seen my grandfather and my father do a lot of development in town. I grew up with it. I know a thing or two about it. I know enough that it's not sustainable in town where I have shifted gears and I've moved away from house lots. I'm doing the last one that I want to do in town on Grandview for a customer. I'm contracted to put in the foundation for it. It's just not sustainable in town anymore. So, I guess I'm just gonna finish and just say that, you know, really think about what we're purchasing here and how it's done, and I'm just really frustrated that we don't use the same system as a bank does. That's all.
Eldon, could I?
No, I've been asked a question before.
No, I'm not gonna
If
ask you
wanna
any,
talk to me, Bill,
no,
we
I
can
don't
just go
wanna,
outside.
I don't wanna ask you a question, I just wanna
Yeah,
try to answer one that you had earlier.
okay,
On a comp,
yeah,
Perkins Pond Road,
comparable value is what you're talking about.
Yes.
Perkins Pond, yeah.
yeah, there's a piece up there with 37 acres.
Yeah,
Significantly less road frontage and on a town road, not a state road.
yeah, 7 lots, I know about it.
Yeah, $400,000. It was appraised at 290.
You gotta think, he's a developer.
So,
That's a person with capital interest.
yes, yep,
That's a person that goes in there
yep,
and capitalizes on
What-
it.
what I'm-
That's not what the conservation does.
exactly. But what I'm trying to say is, on appraisal, that was appraised by the town for $290,000 and it sold for $400,000 the
I
instant it went
understand.
online.
Yes, I understand.
This one
all
is, we'll say 230,
that. Yeah, yeah,
to be fair.
yeah.
And it's going for 300,000, and it's twice as big on a state road that is
Yeah.
connected into 5 other parcels that the town already owns. I think it's a tremendous value
To the conservation.
to the town.
So it's, I understand your
Yeah.
view.
And our business is conservation. That's
Yes.
the business of this,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
yeah.
yep, I understand that. And my views are, we agree to disagree.
Did that sign in go around, by the way? Is that the sign in there?
I think nailed
Oh,
it.
you got, it. okay,
Neighbors
good. I
already
thought
got it.
that was it there. Thank you for your comments. Okay, anybody else?
Steve, I have a question before you close. I have 2 or 3 letters to you. In essence of time, would you like me to just enter them into?
No, I'd like to, I mean, are they long or are they?
Well, I can try to speed read if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fairly lengthy.
Set your clock.
Do you mind doing it? Yeah, we'll recognize, oh,
We had one person that wanted to speak.
oh, did you want to speak?
I'll go last.
Go ahead.
Hey, how many acres do we have in conservation now?
Wow. We would, could you introduce yourself first?
Myself, my name is Peter Bailey.
Peter Bailey?
Yep.
So we would need to grab a current town report to give you an accurate number. I want to say there's about 2,000 of town forest and then some more that are in conservation. But
So then, like, all these subdivisions and stuff where we set the land, where they're building the houses closer together, that becomes common land for everybody to use too. Does that include that?
so not all of that is town-owned. Some of it the town has an easement on. Some of it is town-owned. That just varies a lot. And then some of those actually went to like a private land trust, like Piscataquag Land
We have a pretty
Conservancy.
good charge of land.
For the size town we have a decent amount, I think, but our goal is around 25% or so, so we're not there. We're a big town.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that, second
Yeah.
largest. So what's the goal of buying this piece of property?
Well, like we talked about earlier.
I came to the
He
dance
came
late.
in
Oh,
So he
sorry,
missed that.
sorry, yeah, geez. Well, yeah, I'd hate to go through the whole thing, but anyhow.
I don't want you to go through the whole thing, just
Yeah.
just give
So-
me a goal. of what
So
you're
if you look at, the best map right there is the co-occurrence model. So we did a natural resources inventory that we're tasked as a conservation commission to do that, and we did it. And Fish and Game has something very similar. And what they do is they stack values on top of each other for natural resources, wildlife habitat, just a variety of things play into it. And in this case, it's got a really nice beaver pond, and there's a flowage that comes down through it, and it's got some good forest, and it's in that pink block up there that's called the Chipmunk Hills block and unfragmented land. So that combination of values makes it, very high for conservation value, and it's a big piece. It's 80 acres. We just don't have, the large parcels in Ware are dwindling, that are in private ownership. And, the current prices aren't helping anything, obviously. So there's a lot of it's development going on. I mean, not as much as there was maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, but it's still going on. It's, slowly kind of gnawing away at what's out there. So, yeah, this is one of those areas that rises right to the top of the co-occurrence model for habitat value.
So potentially, what could be the development portion of this as far as homes?
As far as what?
As far as putting homes on it?
So, what we have.
Rough numbers, if you got 85 acres, you're gonna punch 30 lots.
Well, we're in 5-acre zoning, so I think that whole part about, my understanding with 5-acre zoning is the soil requirements are a little less stringent because you have enough room to fit, a septic and a well, and the soils in there are mostly pretty high and dry, most of it. So if you just did if you did the math, 5 acres by 85 would be, the maximum scenario ever.
Rural agricultural?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, a lot of houses. It depends on if a developer wants to pound a road in there, or if they just want to try to take the easy way out and just get what they can off.
So my only concern is that with the, eventually the economy's gonna soften.
Yeah.
We all expect that, I'm sure. And so if you say, what are you saying, 20 houses, 30 houses,
No,
15 houses?
yeah,
15.
15,
So 15 houses, right?
yeah.
And, if you take out, the average medium income in town is $92,000. Out of that, those people are gonna spend $72,000 in local, filling Burt Brown's, buying gas at Country 3, all the other stuff, that's where the money gets spent. So in other words, you got 15 times 70,000. So you're losing a lot of revenue to the economy. So you need to keep that in mind too. You don't get it?
No, I didn't get what you were saying.
So if you build 15, if you take out 15 houses,
Yep.
each of those people that have a house spends $70,000 a year, because the average median income is 94,000. Most people spend almost up to what they make. Most people spend more.
But then you gotta think about, you build 15 houses, and you got families that move in that say have 3 kids,
I understand that.
and it
So-
costs $14,000 a year to educate a
They're
child.
spending 70 in the economy. That keeps him employed, you employed, everybody employed.
Yeah, I don't know.
And they spend the money, right? That's where the money goes.
So, I think there's been some good,
So I'm not making a judgment.
Yeah.
I'm saying is, I understand what you're trying to do, and I'm all for the conservation. We have 2,000 acres. This piece may be valuable. I don't know. I'm coming to the dance late. I'm just saying is, you also need to take into the account of the loss of revenue.
I appreciate everyone's, both sides, the economics of this. Frankly, for like a conservation commission, it's not really in the RSA as the driver, even though it, there's the nuts and bolts of the economy and how this, how conservation affects the economy. It tends to have a stabilizing effect because forests generate revenue and they don't really cost much. But I can appreciate that. But I also think in the context of the funding that this Conservation Commission has available to it, we can't even put a dent in, the developability of the town as a whole. So that's why we use tools like the co-occurrence model to help prioritize. You know, frankly, we just haven't had a lot of people interested in selling stuff to us. And this is not really a conservation seller. It's a very weird situation. A conservation seller may have given us a year to go do all kinds of funding grants, to do the appraisals.
Just
We had
they want their
60
money
days.
now.
They want the money now.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and that's it's been the craziest project that I've ever been involved with in my whole entire time on the commission. We've had way more complicated, way bigger projects. This one has been absolutely, by far, the toughest. Getting it from 3 different sides.
The only thing I just want to make it clear, though, I mean, a lot of times I hear the first thing out of everybody's mouth is, that's 15 kids going there and all the other stuff, the schools. And
Yeah.
they never hear about the revenue. Those people spend the money in town,
Yeah.
whether it's Concord, Manchester, whatever. And same as you, your first thing was the 15 kids going to school. I understand, I used to be a teacher. I understand the costs of education, okay? However, you never hear the revenue stream side, and that's what we're gonna need. Eventually.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Peter, on my way up here tonight, I was figuring how many sales of tractors I was gonna lose taking that off the market. I really did, because I'm gonna get a,
Everybody wants one of
Half
the
or
little
more.
tractors. They're the most expensive.
Thank you. Tammy, go ahead and recognize.
I'm sorry, I just have one more thought to add, and that's, we're talking about the land, but what's underneath the land? Aquifer, potentially? We're in a town with no municipal water supply. We've been through 2 years of drought. The wetlands this year are looking really healthy because we had a lot of rain, and that makes me really happy because I have a well that I live off of as too. But when you start developing, what's the impact on the aquifer and the wells of the people that already are there? And that's just a point I'd just like to put out for food for thought. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. You know, I just want to interject on that, and folks can go back and look at our minutes. I never in a million years thought we'd ever talk about that in Ware as a Conservation Commission, and it actually came up with a well that's going dry. Real huge problem, nothing we could do about it. But that's, you know, something to think about.
I'll be extremely brief. I'd like to say I very strongly support the purchase of this property.
Could you say your name, too?
Alan Rockenbach, 118 Buxton School Road. I very strongly support this purchase. The notion that we're somehow going to be skinned because we haven't had an appraisal is nonsense. 80 acres, $3,500 an acre in town is an extremely good price, and you don't need, you know, a Harvard MBA to figure that part out. I mean, it's a deal. And quite frankly, we should go for it. I think the benefits far outweigh any possible negative consequences. So, just my 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and, oh, come on. All
My
right.
turn. I didn't sit here to just be quiet. So, Lisa Crolian, 232 Quaker Street. Just purchased that property. And I was lucky enough because it got bid on, I got outbid, which was, it's incredible what things are going for. So I just think this is a really great deal. I'm pro-kids, I'm anti-taxes. I'm really glad that we're not gonna be putting in a whole bunch more house lots. We already have enough trouble supporting our kids in the schools as it is. I'm a teacher, I get it. And I try to spend money here in town, but I certainly don't spend $70,000 in town. That doesn't happen. I don't know where those numbers come from, but anyway, I just really appreciate everything that you've done, and I really hope that we go through with this. So, thank you.
Thank you. We'll recognize our town administrator, Naomi Bolton. So just, there were some letters that came in over the email.
This was awful long, it's late. The first one comes from 35 of Bidey Bridge Road. It says, "Dear Selectmen, the Conservation Commission has wisely proposed approval of the purchase of the land on North Stark Highway extending up Craney Hill in the direction of a parcel already owned by the town. I write in support of the purchase provided there are no currently recognized environmental conditions on the property or on properties directly adjacent to the parcel that might incur significant cleanup expense. The timely investigation of any legal requirements, such as clear title, should be the highest priority so the purchase deadline can be met. I support the project, this purchase because for the parcel and the quality of the land, this is a good price and land never gets cheaper. The town already owns a parcel on Craney Hill to which the parcel would enhance access. Developers are targeting where as the pandemic pushes city dwellers toward the country. Preservation of rural character and open space are part of the master plan. During the lockdown, people discovered the value of outdoor recreation on public lands. The rich varieties of wildlife on Craney Hill offer opportunities for hunting, bird watching, and biology field studies. The Wigston easement, the Champy easement, and the Eastman Forest together with this land offer an excellent corridor for wildlife, many of whom need this much territory for their normal range. If we continue habitat destruction, we'll find the displaced bear, deer, foxes, coyotes, fishers, and other animals moving into settled neighborhoods. Humans aren't the only life on Earth. Climate change mitigation strategies all indicate that forested areas reduce or stabilize carbon load in the atmosphere, absorb runoff to prevent floods, and moderate extreme summer temperatures. The forested parts of this parcel will contribute to the timber fund for the future. Long-term residents of Craney Hill remember Margaret Wood, a daughter of Ernest Page, the original owner of this and other property. Marge was friendly with a resident in the Dome House on North Stark's side of the property, and I'm sure Mr. Barden would be willing to entertain consideration of a life estate clause should an easement be written for the parcel in the future. This would give Ken Bednarz the opportunity to remain in the dwelling on the property, but no one else will be allowed to live there should he leave. Given his love for the land, he might assist in the oversight of the property. It is my hope that the land will become part of the catalog of open spaces preserved for future generations. Best regards, Chris Haig. Whew, that one's done. So I got I'm sorry, by email. The first one is, the next one is from R.G. Conroy. It says, I'm writing to urge you to protect the 85 acres on Route 114 in Ware known as the Barden property. This land has great conservation values and would help provide habitat for many species. As you know, our town is being rapidly developed and loss of habitat is of great concern. So many species are in declining in New Hampshire, including many species of songbirds. Excuse me, I'm not singing. But also fox, beaver, otter, mink, fisher, and more. Future generations will thank us for our foresight in protecting the land. Please take advantage of the situation and allow the conservation to purchase the land. We do not want to see it developed, as will surely happen if we let this opportunity slip through our hands. That's from the Conroys. I go back to Ralph. I think his name is pronounced Jimenez. Jimenez, Jamenez. He said, I write to urge the board to approve the purchase of the Conservation Commission of Nelson Barden's land on 114 in North Ware. The town already owns considerable conservation land, protected land abutting the property. It's crucial wildlife habitat transected by Dustin Brook with 2 ponds and extensive wetlands. It also has several big eskers that, if mined, would create an ugly scar across from the high school. Purchase price is $300,000 for 80 acres, with 2,000 feet of frontage on 114 is a bargain. One that would protect against future further strip development. Though no longer Ware voters, my wife and I own property in North Ware. Thank you. One more, sorry. This is from Tom Carr. I have sorry, who won't want that part? Sorry, I have a planning board meeting, Hillsborough can't be here, but it says, I've been on this property, ironically, this is from Tom Carr, several years ago with Eldon Towns, who's looking into the gravel excavation. There are gravel eskers on the property, but access is questionable with wetlands, as I recall. But I do remember clearly is that the property fits the concept of what we've looked into for the diversity of habitat, topography, forest, wetlands, and uplands with pursuing conservation properties. As a taxpayer and New Hampshire certified scientist, wetland scientist who works directly with DES, Wetlands Bureau, on mitigation proposals to preserve valuable land, I fully support the effort to protect this property from commercial and residential development. Please read this into the record. Sincerely, Tom Carr.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, if there are no other comments, we're going to formally close the meeting. Going once, twice, 3 times. Okay, the meeting's closed. I mean, the public hearing, sorry, not the meeting. I'd like to go ahead and essentially reaffirm our previous vote with the Conservation Commission now, and be looking for a motion to expend $250,000 from Conservation, $50,000 from Town Forest, and up to $20,000 for project costs from Conservation.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote on this one. So it starts on my left. Mike?
Yes.
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. It's all in, it's unanimous, so carries. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, nicely done, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and recognize Chairman Fulton to run the rest of the meeting.
Nice job. Yep. Not just the meeting, but everything you did to get this.
Been the roughest one I've ever been involved with.
Something at Country 3 hardware store or whatever, it might have been $1,000.
Okay, back in action here. Again, it's Andy Fulton, the Chair of the Commission, at 8:35. We will continue on with other aspects of our November 3rd, 2021 Conservation meeting. We'll just start at the top of the list there. We're looking at the October 3rd, 2021 minutes.
Andy, can we just, before we forget, can we vote to unseal the, to entertain the change in the agenda to unseal the meeting minutes from the, when we voted on the purchase and sale for the Varden property? I don't know if anyone has the date on that. May 12th. Do you know the exact language that we need to say?
Short answer, Steve, is yes, and I'll take that as a motion underway.
All you do is make a motion to unseal the May 12th non-public minutes.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to unseal the May 12th non-public minutes.
I'll second.
We've got a motion made by Steve, seconded by Mark. In discussion here, I will just add that I think we also had non-public on the following meeting in June. So I just want to know whether, I just want it to be known that we probably ought to see if, through the town administrator, whether that's the case and whether,
You also discussed it in June 9th.
so I would entertain an amendment to the motion, or we can do a second motion after this.
Amend the motion to unseal the minutes from May 12th and June 9th that were non-public.
Second.
All right, so now we have the motion amended by Steve and seconded the amendment by Mark. Any other discussion from the commissioners? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain? No? Just checking my hearing. All in favor. Motion carries. And Naomi, thank you for taking care of that when you got a chance. All right, so that's done. Jumping back to last month. Anybody, we can do this two ways. We can either hold off and look at them in December, or we can entertain a motion to accept, amend, accept as is, or accept with edits. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to read through them just yet.
Neither have I.
Why don't we just,
And you might, we also forgot to add the October ones to it. They went from the other night.
The
So you can
19th.
add both Octobers to your December meeting if you want to take them.
I would recommend that. The commissioners agree?
Yes.
All right, so we'll table that. Let's see, we do have one planning board or zoning board item. Looks like planning board. The Poznanski Family Road, sure, revocable trust, 2-lot subdivision on Twin Bridge Road and Old Town Road. Tax map 11062. Zoned residential. Application is to create one new lot containing 2.24 acres on the corner of Old Town Road and Twin Bridge. The current lot has over 5 acres and an existing home. Yeah, this should also say, do we have a schedule for planning board on this one?
18th. 18th. They're only meeting once because the second Thursday's Veterans Day and we're closed, and the fourth Thursday's Thanksgiving, so they're gonna pick the one between.
All right, so this goes to planning board
November 18th.
November 18th.
There's currently a home on the property. She's just cutting off the corner lot.
All right, everybody has a single page for 11x17 of it.
So where would the road access be?
Right off
Twin Bridge?
Old Town or Twin Bridge.
Mark, do you know where it is?
Yeah, I know where that is.
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
There's already an access in there, was an old gravel bank that they all used to shoot in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we know what whether the access is intended to be Old Town or Twin Bridge?
I think it's gonna stay where it is, which I believe is Old Town.
Old Town in the front there, yeah.
And that's a driveway permit really, that if the site distance is a problem, that it could be moved. But there's an old existing entrance right there, and there's some orange fence across it to keep people out.
Yeah.
This is a plan by Higginson Land Services out of Henniker. Purpose to depict 2-lot subdivision. Total area is 5 acres. Residential district. Minimum lot size by soils is 1.99 acres. 50-foot front building setback, 25 side and in rear, and 50 feet to wetlands.
I don't think the wetland sign is stamped yet,
Yeah,
but it's for Wade, is it?
right,
For
Tim,
Rita?
right. We do have a note, number 7, a buffer of native vegetation with no ground disturbance allowed except for planting shall be maintained within 25 feet of all jurisdictional wetlands. In forested areas, no more than 50% of the basal area shall be removed in any 10-year period.
So the legend forgot a symbol for that buffer.
What did you say, Steve?
The legend in the bottom left corner does not have a symbol for the
Yeah,
wetland
I
buffer
was-
line.
Yeah.
So that's, let's just take it as comment number 1 for the planning board, number 2 being,
On that same comment, they use the same line symbol for the 25-foot buffer as they did for part of this one, which I don't really get it. It's, they actually changed line symbol on the same polygon. Kind of screwed it up right here. See the, I'm looking on, I don't know if this is north arrow. Anyhow, where the lot line is between the two of them, you've got where it says very poorly drained wetland, then you've got, so you've got the polygon for the wetland, you've got the 25 going to a line symbol there. But then when you go over to this other line, where it, kind of like down below where it says 2.24 acres, that's the same line symbol on part of that polygon, but then it changes symbols.
So we'll say
Something messed up there.
legend should include a unique symbol for the wetland buffer line.
Hmm.
I wonder if that's what that actually is.
No, the 25's right there. It's this one, because it goes around I mean, a polygon shouldn't change line symbols
Right.
typically.
I wondered if that was his intent, though, if this is the edge of the wetland.
No, this one is, I think.
It's
Well,
using the
they're
same,
showing this one as the edge of the outside of the
right.
wetland.
Huh.
And
This
I
one
think
here.
what happens, Steve, is
th-
the building envelope symbol changes on a couple stretches
Yeah, but look
around
at,
that.
so the edge of
So
wetlands,
it actually, what it needs to do is fix that building envelope
that's what I'm saying. This one here, that.
sign there and there. Yeah.
But here's the wetlands one. This is the wetland symbol, Bill,
Yeah, what
right
did I
there, and that's
see?
the wetlands there.
Yeah.
With like a couple dots, once 3 dots,
Edge of water, existing ground.
3 dots, and then like a
Three.
dash.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
that's in here.
Yep.
And then you have, so this one's not labeled, you know, the wetland buffer in the legend.
Yep.
And then they use the same,
Yeah, he's got it
the building
two
envelope part
places
of it.
with no.
Yeah.
Yep,
Uh,
So it's actually that
Goes from
that
3 dots to
50-foot
1
setback
dot.
line
Right.
needs fixing
Yeah.
on the corners, shared corner of the two lots.
Hmm.
Crazy.
Easy fix. Anything else? No. So that's number 2. The first one is for the legend and the line fix on the interior portions of those two lots around the very poorly drained wetland. The second one is wetland certification stamp, or stamp of wetland scientist.
I got a question. Does the planning board specify the north arrow? Because it's odd to have magnetic north, because that changes. That's not like a true north arrow on there.
That wouldn't be north anyway, wouldn't that be headed south? No?
Oh, I don't know
Twin
going
Bridge traverse is generally east-west.
Oh.
I guess yeah, no, northeast, southwest.
I was gonna ask that question, though. That's, I think,
Oh, I
is
guess, because this is going this,
that the right direction for me?
no, Twin
Right
Bridge comes
declination.
across. Comes from New Boston Road to,
Yeah, but here's 114 here. So that, technically, that's 114 going up, so that's headed somewhere in the right direction.
All right, well, at number 3, please double-check the north arrow. Something doesn't seem right.
Yeah, let me look that up real quick.
yeah, here it makes you think it's going,
Yeah, this isn't right.
yeah.
This is in relation, though, is
Because,
Old Town Road, that's headed south.
right, it's headed south,
Yeah.
so this should be south, not north.
Yeah. But this is, appears to be
But this
correct
looks-
here.
Yeah, but this was.
This is
yeah,
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, this, I'm pretty sure that's south.
Yeah, maybe it's just the symbol they use. That would be the wrong direction for our declination, I think, though. No.
Yeah, that's definitely going, that would be south, not north.
I'm sorry, but I've seen Mark read maps.
You have?
That is very, if it's not north, it's so close to it.
Not this indication.
I live down there. I know north, trust me.
It's good. I'm just
If you
wondering the
go
symbol.
across that road beyond Daniels Lake,
Sherry,
you're
you're
looking,
barking up the wrong tree.
aren't you looking south?
No.
Wouldn't that be south going to Goffstown?
No, south is right, you know where my house sits?
Yeah.
That's dead north to the, when you look at the front of my house, it's dead north.
Really?
We built it with a compass.
I want to pull that comment back. I don't think it's a set thing. Don't worry about it.
I don't think that. I'm gonna go down there with my compass
Just ask my
tomorrow.
kids when they follow Mark up in Maine snowmobiling.
We'll follow him. He does know how to, his direction is correct.
He does, yeah.
The sense of direction is uncanny.
So if I go down with my compass, I'm gonna be headed north. Just makes you
All right,
think.
all I'm
pick a
gonna say is
road.
please double check the north arrow, something not right, or maybe it is. It's been a long night.
Yeah, it's been a long night.
That good?
Yeah.
I'll return this one. I need not keep it. All right, let's see. I got a little bit of mail. I wonder. Maybe I should recuse myself because I'm employed by these people.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you go sit in the back of the
Yeah,
room?
right, I'll go sit. All right, Hargraves, October 19th. File 2021-02754, dear Ms. Hargraves. Let's see, personnel received photo documentation to determine compliance, ES's closing enforcement file. However, standard language, stay on the straight and narrow, please. All right, so that one's all set. Next one, Kyle Pompey. Outstanding, this is October 15th, 2021. Request for enforcement filed 2021-01908. The land resource management programs work is underway. File's been reviewed. There's an outstanding request for information related to what you constructed for a driveway crossing, and description with photographs has not been received. So that one is outstanding, needs the owners to address. Just an FYI, that's 62 Forest Road. And on all of these, if anybody has any knowledge of the neighborhoods and special concerns, please raise it. If not, we'll just keep moving. Third one, Dylan Poivre. We've got October 20, 2021, file 2021-03251. This was an expedited minimum impact.
Yeah, Tom's asking.
That's what I was thinking. This was one that Tom addressed last month. It's in queue for compliance review to be completed within 30 days, so that's ongoing. Any comments, or shall we note without comment? Note without comment on those three. Then our last item is an annual exercise.
Make a motion, we authorize Naomi to sign on behalf of the town of Ware to allow Glenn Dubois to trap the Wood Family Forest consistent with previous conditions, that he give us an annual report of take.
Second.
I believe he's either got combination or key or something to get in and out of there too, just goes along with the previous conditions, but just to state that.
All right, we've got a motion made by Steve to authorize town administrator to sign on the commission's behalf permission for Glenn Dubois to trap the Wood Family Forest as per longstanding conditions on that activity, annual activity,
And to provide an annual report of harvest.
which is part of the longstanding
yeah,
conditions
yeah.
of that. Yes. Harvesting report included, as usual. Motion made and seconded. Any other thoughts from the commissioners? Nope. I'll just make the comment, as usual, Mr. Dubois has been very responsible, as far as we know, and upfront. And just a reminder, if anybody ever wants to see a trap set and accompany Mr. Dubois, that's also one of the standing conditions re-upped for this year. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
That's all in favor. Folks? Any other business?
Yep.
Yes, Steve.
We've got an invoice for medicine for Toby Hill for $487.50 out of the town forest account. That was for managing that harvest, because it was essentially a
Yeah.
proven cut with no revenue, so we have a signed agreement. So just,
You just need to make sure that's under my nose, and I will take care of it.
okay.
We
Second,
also have an invoice for the mowing up on, they'll call it the
177.
Eastman Meadow, and I will take care of that one too. Again, we don't need a motion or just a reminder for me on that. Do you have another one, Steve?
I would say if Steve Flanders is watching, leave your phone number so I can call you back.
Still working,
Twice, he didn't leave his number, I don't know, I couldn't get the.
still working on that one, but maybe, was that before it was mowed or after?
Before, he's probably half.
All
an
right,
hour.
so he's probably all set now.
Good to have him there, though.
Yeah.
Hey, so I do want to put off any approval of the town forest management plan that's been submitted till the next meeting. Andy and I got comments in, really, you know, even if it's like a yay or nay, you guys are interested, not interested, whatever, I mean, just, I think everybody should comment. I don't like the idea of steering the ship. So
This
we-
was the contract or the written proposal for the,
It's management plan.
oh,
Yeah, which parcel was that for?
Eastman, wasn't
Yeah, that's the one,
Eastman.
that's the one you and I
Eastman, yeah.
provided.
Backside of
it? Yeah.
Eastman.
Yeah, so I commented, and, yeah, I mean, there was some stuff in there that just was cut and paste from somewhere else, so we got it
Even
out.
if it's just, I think what's circulated has comments, and I think I circulated my comments also.
I got
But
Steve's.
it's good to see what was originally presented and be aware of that, even if we don't carry it through to the final version. Always worthwhile. So truly to do a quick scan through, probably figure on a couple sessions and, a couple hours, you could get the gist of it. If you just want to skim it, just so you have a sense and don't feel like you want to dig into it or evaluate it that fashion, that's fine, but just please do, and please just give a shout out saying, thank you, got it, okay to move on, that sort of thing.
Yeah. if they're
Steve, when
que-
did you send that out? So I didn't see it in my regular mail. Maybe it ended up in the junk mail. Sometimes stuff does.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, Mark, some of your stuff hits my junk mail. I don't know, I have to go back and look.
I'll get that to you, Sherry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Andy, could you give it to me? I'm sure I ignored it.
Okay,
so now we're on a revision already based on our comments, so that one should have, Matthias sent that one around. Who did he send that to everybody or just you and me?
I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't get, I just got the one.
Sends it to you, and then I think he depends on you to forward it.
which makes sense.
Yeah, that's where I'm
I
falling
think he
apart.
sends only to one or two of you.
Yeah, yeah. So the other part of that is, if you have a question, call Matthias. Don't hesitate. Email him, call him, whatever. I mean,
The guy's eager
Yeah.
to work with us, and that's, doesn't need to be Steve, it doesn't need to be me.
No.
The contact information is not privileged information. This is an earnest laborer on our behalf.
And I will share a good story. It's about our town administrator and a timber harvest. Remember when we were in there harvesting? I mean,
Oh,
so
boy.
these plans don't actually just sit on the shelf. When questions come up, there are questions down to the stand level of what the heck we were doing. Right? You know, so these things do get relied on. They do get discussed. It's what actually, you know, shapes the overall game plan. Not that things don't get modified based on markets and what's feasible, but it is really what we're trying to go by, so it's important.
Thank you, Steve. Anything else?
I'm going to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Awesome.
All
I'll
right.
second that.
And I'm going to hold that motion for just a second. And I don't have a big soapbox, but thank you, each one of you, for wading into this thing tonight. Clearly, there are folks who are not going to be with us all the time, but any one of them can be with us sometimes. And you all tried to be level-headed. You tried to take what could be a very challenging situation and make it better, not make it worse. Tried to take the high road. There are important things to note, but I'll just say in general, we've had a confirmation of what we have known for years now. Roughly a third of the town's not with us on any given day, but roughly 2/3 of the town is with us. I've seen this on
On the
two
voting all
different
the time.
petitions through the same online venue. One against it comes up with 80 votes over roughly 12 hours. One for it comes up with 180 votes, most of them recorded in the first, roughly 12 hours. So that, for me, is confirmation. But we need to remember, there are folks who we are not reaching. And perhaps we won't, or maybe we will. And I thank you, Bill, for being cordial, but trying to have somebody who's got some very different interests step down a little bit and come back and that was huge. And that speaks well of this town. I think that speaks very well of this commission. And there'll be times of acrimony, but we've got a purpose here, and we can be doing things with the mind of, having a healthy town that where youth can be raised and where the working populace can be satisfied, and where our elders can have some pleasure and enjoy some of those things that they maybe enjoyed even in their youth. So let's keep at it. Thank you. This has been a brutal one. Personally, there's been loss of sleep, there have been tears, there have been worries, very sincere worries for safety. There's been rabble-rousing. It's happened twice on this project, and I made some mistakes. We all do that occasionally, but let's keep to the high road. Let's keep an open discourse and think of some of the things we need to do better, while acknowledging that there will be times when there's nothing we can say that's going to necessarily mollify or help a situation. But let's keep at it. Thank you.
I'm going to add one little thing, is for however long I've been on this board, I joined it because I was very disappointed. I was in that 1/3. A lot of the same feelings that Eldon had. I would say I've done a complete flip. And I appreciate, Steve, especially you, your expertise in different things. And I've learned a lot. And I'd like to learn a lot more. But you've been, what I thought you weren't doing, you have done a very good job of. And that was sharing the property. And I think that in the future, I don't want to talk about it tonight, but I think in the future, we're going to have to work harder to try to obtain people that want to use it and want to be part of it.
I agree with that. I actually wrote down, we'll save it for another meeting, but like,
Yep.
the Parks and Rec meet every Tuesday, the second Tuesday of every month, so I think that would be a good contact to make soon. That's,
Maybe invite them to one of our next meetings or within the very near future, invite them in.
All right, my wife's got to drive.
All right, we got a motion, that was seconded by Mark.
Mm.
We give it to you, Mark, or was that?
Yeah, it's good enough.
You got it.
Yeah.
All in favor,
I'll
say
let
aye.
Aye.
We adjourn at 9:03.